Hey guys, and welcome to the very first episode of Real Discussions. So, this is a show where we're going to talk about things that are happening in the pop culture world that maybe should be talked about, or that we're excited about, or that we're trying to push people towards. And this episode, we're going to be talking about Dungeons and Dragons. So, over the years, Dungeons and Dragons has developed this sort of stigma about it, where it's for those super nerds with the pimples on their face, and they're wearing their underpants too high, they get slammed in lockers and stuff. And it's just over the last sort of 30 odd years, it's really been pushed to like the bottom runs, like it's only for the weak and the just bad, like really ultra nerds from the 80s, and it's not really it's not really about that. No, there's nothing wrong with being super nerdy and having that lifestyle and all that stuff. I mean, maybe some of the stereotypes like drinking nothing but Mountain Dew and living in your mum's basement, probably not a good thing till you're 30. But hey, you do you. I want to break the stigma around Dungeons and Dragons because I've recently started playing it with Jared from Real Talk and like Tom and a few other people from like that haven't been on the channel yet, but probably will be. And it's such a fun game, and like I mean, me and Jared have discussed it for weeks and weeks and months and years, and we every time we've almost got ready to play a game, something's happened or something's come up, or we've been too busy, and then I'd say a couple of weeks ago we finally just bit the bullet. We went and bought some books, and we went and looked up how to create characters and all that stuff, and we sort of taught ourselves to play. It creates a unique style of gameplay. Like it's unlike anything you've played. It's not like a video game. It's not like a board game. It's it's a rare kind of game that allows the player themselves to completely control what happens. Like you can buy a quest or you can ride a quest or however you choose to play it, but it gives you a world, and you get to interact with that world as you would interact with the world, being in a fantasy sort of realm. Like there's dragons, obviously, and dungeons. Fancy that. But there's like all these magical creatures, and there's a magic element, and there's an equipment element, and there's that RPG element they tried to put into games, and like you sort of get that in games like Skyrim and Dragon Age and things like that. But this really hammers home the feel of you being that character. Now, unfortunately, I've not got a chance to play it as a character. I've been solely DMing or dungeon mastering. Um, so that's given me like a unique experience as well, but we'll get to that later. So I think I'll start with creating your own character. It's a semi-tedious but also really enjoyable part of playing the game, because you take every aspect of your personality that you want to keep or accentuate or dull down, and you basically get to pick a race of, could be anything from an orc or an elf to just a plain human, or there's halflings and gnomes and dragon people, and that's just a wide variety of like races and like religions and all these things you can pick as ways of like taking a special way of playing the game. And you get to pick your own equipment, you get to pick your own style of fighting. You can pick beforehand, you're like, I'm going to play this at a distance or stealthily. You can go with like a rogue, and you can take a bow and arrow, and or you can go the heavy, and you've got like paladins and clerics and fighters and barbarians, and you just pick the biggest, heaviest, sharpest weapon, and you just go, I'm going to go over there, I'm gonna take that big goblin, I'm gonna cave him. And then you can pick the pure fantasy round. You can just go, I'm gonna solely rely on magic because I don't get to do that in real life, and I really want to shoot that guy in the face with a bolt of lightning, or fireballs, or ice knives. And ice knives is an actual spell. I have ice knives, and you get to go as weird or as fantasy as you like. He says, staring off into the middle distance. It just adds that personal note. You become attached to your character because you've spent time creating it, and you've rolled your stats, and you've picked your equipment, and you've written your own backstory. Like everything is controlled by the player, and that leads to sort of unique situations. Like I could play, like we've been playing the base quest that you get if you buy a starter pack, which is the Mines of Vandalen. I'm gonna get a lot of hate for pronouncing that, but the way they like the group that I've been playing that with has played it, and the way that a group of other people would play it with their characters and the way they play and their personalities, it could come out completely different. Like we've had a few major mistakes. Jared, who killed an NPC who I've had to work out how all of the information he's supposed to give the players gets fed to the players because Jared accidentally drowned him. This whole sort of character development thing, and you get attached to your person and you work out how your guy wants to interact with certain races. Like I love it, and it just adds another thing for the players to overcome, and even like the dungeon masters to overcome. The next is the unique worlds and the world building in it. They can interact with whoever they see, and everything has a long lasting effect on how you, the player, are perceived as that character. If you go into a town and you steal and you burn houses down, or you're just rude to everyone, that's how they'll remember you. So you're like, if you go into a pub and you break stuff and you get into a bar fight, next time you go into that pub, that innkeeper is just gonna be like, nah, bro, get out. Like we're not having that. Which is just it's fantastic, and you don't really get that in games where you can just go, or you get into trouble in a town, you go back and they're like, oh, you're that guy, and you can just pay 50 gold or go to jail for 2 days, and like they'll forget about you. Like that's not, you have like a long-standing sort of continuity. It's dropping a character you've created into a world that you wish was real, and it's just about playing it however you want to play. And it's 50% skill and thought process and 50% luck of the dice. And if you're sat at home going, that's for, I'm not a scrawny, pimply, pizza faced looking nerd, I don't want to play that game, you, you're missing out, because it is fun, and it's spreading, it's coming back. Like I've noticed, like even 5 years ago, if you brought up playing Dungeons and Dragons, there's a stick. You'd get the stigma. You go, oh, that guy's weird. He takes his cardboard sword and he wears a cape and he cuts people up, and he's a weird kid. You don't get that. That's not a thing anymore. Like it feels like everyone I've run into over the last like 6 months, and even in just the last sort of month and a half that I've been playing this game, seems like everyone's a closet D&D player, which is great, because that just it's another talking point. Like you can talk to people and you can discuss like people who've played the same quests as you and how they've come like completely different in their ads. Like you get unique stories out of it. It's just like, I don't want to say it's like real life, but you get, everyone has a different experience, and that adds a unique sort of social side to it. Like I think that more people should be playing this game, and more people should be, you know, discussing this crap. And it's basically just another sport. You can like play in different groups, and you go, oh, I had this encounter with so and so, and there was a group of goblins, and we managed to somehow blow them all up from the inside with ice or some crap. And they go, oh, well, we managed to knock a tree onto them and squash them all at once. And there's just stuff like that. It just adds a unique, hilarious sort of side to the game. Like, we're not playing it super seriously, and you don't have to either. And I have nothing against people who are like 100% like get into character. That's what their way of playing it. And you go, well, I'm a super chill gnome, and I stab people in the shins with a fork. Like, play it how you want to play it. That's the point of Dungeons and Dragons. Right. So if you're thinking about playing Dungeons and Dragons, or you're sitting on the fence, or you've not played, and a couple of people have mentioned it and like asked you to join that game, I cannot recommend highly enough that you give it a go. If it's not your thing, it's not your thing. But it's the stigma around it it's not deserved, and it definitely brings people together, and it's a great just a fantastic game. It's a good experience, and it's a good night in if you don't really feel like going out. Like we play, we have snacks and we have alcohol because everything is better with alcohol. Kids don't do alcohol. If you want to know more about Dungeons and Dragons, there's an article online written by me. It's so just go to realtalkpcd.com. It'll be, I think, second from the top, and just give it a read. It'll give you the full rundown of like what it's like and how we've been playing and what it's all good like. And yeah, that's it, guys. I hope you've enjoyed the very first episode of Real Discussions. See you soon. Keep it real. Don't do alcohol.